I was just reading yesterday a book called The Psychology of Money, and I'm going to share this, Christina, but I find this is so fascinating to me. Is in that book they were talking about how basically like there's no formula for how to be financially successful because it's so much based on emotion and perspective and what you learn about the world. And I think that applies to anything that we do. But they were talking about when JFK was getting elected president and he was running for president during that time, one of the questions that he was asked by a reporter at a press conference was about his experience during the Great Depression. And this is, I don't know the exact years of all this, but let's say within the last 30 years of him like being alive, or the last 30 years of him running for president is when that occurred. And his answer to that question they had quoted in this book, and I just couldn't believe it. He talked about how his memories of the Great Depression was the times where his family had a great fortune. They had the biggest houses they've ever had. They had more servants that they knew what to do with. And they actually, the one thing I really remember is that my father hired more gardeners just so they could have some food to eat at night. He's like, so that's he said, there was no depression for me. That's my only, he said, the first time I learned about the Great Depression was when I read about it at school at Harvard, even though he lived through it. And I think that really hits home that everyone's experience is so different. So especially with food, and we talk about training or mindset, just because you've been around people who think a certain way for a very long time doesn't mean that's the real world. Like, that's your worldview, and I totally get that. But there's a different perspective somewhere else if you're just willing to go look for it.
Yeah, you don't have to stay in that world.
Yes.
And it can be super hard to break out of, but...
It can, because you have to get truthful with that you're in it.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's one of the beautiful things that we just get to witness here at OB Training is when someone comes to us and their world is like, they get to, I don't want to say that we have a better world or anything, but they break out of their mold, and it's like they can see. And I know we talked about this earlier when the client you met with, she gets it. And I heard you with someone this morning who finally gets it. And I don't know how else to say it, but you all of a sudden things become more clear of why things are the way they are for you, how you can go and change them, and that there's a different route that you may have never known existed simply because you just couldn't see it yet.
Right.
That's why I love talking about generational changes and why this work is so impactful, because you single-handedly truly have the impact to make generational changes, right? Like, you have made a generational impact for yourself and those that are come after you because of things that, again, love them to death, but things that you didn't want for yourself.
Yeah.
It's like to own that fact that you can truly change the trajectory of your life and your kids' lives and those after you. It's like, wow, that's so impactful and
It is.
That's
empowering.
And it starts here.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what we say. You start to transform your body, but you stay to transform your future, because that's really where it goes.